The bond between a parent and their child can be one of the most powerful connections there is. And sadly, sometimes there's adult-child estrangement. In fact, research shares that 29% of Americans are estranged from a family member. In this video, I'll share 6 tips on how to reconnect with your estranged adult child, plus some top common reasons why it happens. Stay till the end because you never know which will resonate the most with you and your child. In case you're new, I'm Cyn Meyer, the founder of Second Wind Movement and a life coach for older adults who are striving to turn their retirement years into their best years full of purpose and meaning. And a big part of that is, of course, having thriving relationships, which falls into the community category if you follow our 5 rings of retirement. The one with your kids is a big one. It's such a big deal. And in my coaching sessions, we talk a lot about repairing and deepening connections with your adult children as life evolves. Child estrangement is the deliberate and often long-term distancing of a child from one or both of their parents. And it can be devastating. Families are left grappling with feelings of loss and confusion. And according to research, it's more of a process than an event. A study examined the story of 52 estranged US adult children and found 2 backstory types. Continuous estrangement, which is when adult children stay distant from their parents despite outside pressures to reconcile, and chaotic disassociation, which is when children try to reconnect, but the relationship becomes unstable before ultimately breaking down completely. It's not always a black and white situation, but the top reasons for estrangement fall into 3 main categories. Intrafamily, this is negative behavior from or among family members like neglect, abuse, conflicts, or toxic behavior. Interfamily, stemming from issues outside the family like physical distance, a third party, or societal pressures from family, friends, or the greater community. And intrapersonal. This is caused by personality characteristics of the estranged person, or mental illness, immaturity, entitlement, disrespect, or feelings of being judged and unsupported. Again, it's not black and white, and of course, parents and children tend to have different views on the reasons for the estrangement. Parents' reasons usually stem from their children's objectionable relationships or sense of entitlement, while adult children frequently attribute it to their parents' toxic behavior or feeling unsupported and unaccepted. And it's worth noting that parents are often unsure of the reasons for their estrangement, which means that children are the ones who are more likely to initiate that estrangement. But no matter the cause, child estrangement is often a deeply painful experience for everyone involved. So please consider these tips and tailor them to your specific family situation. Number 1, reflect on the reasons behind estrangement, the deeper reasons. As I mentioned, your perspective could be completely opposite of your child's. But like most relationship conflicts, it's not worth fighting for the sake of winning or being right, aka right fighting. As Dr. Hal Shorey put it, to let go of being right, it's worth focusing on what works rather than being right. In order to change your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in relationships, it will serve you to focus less on being right and more on what works. Consider being a pragmatist. While it may be extremely difficult to see through your intense emotional pain, try to understand the situation from your child's perspective and contemplate the deeper reasons behind their feelings. It's all about using the power of empathy and putting yourself in your child's shoes to understand those deep-rooted causes that may have stemmed from way back, quite possibly generations ago. For example, when it comes to being disrespectful, the main reasons why adult children may be disrespectful land in 4 main categories: lack of boundaries, unresolved anger or resentment, feeling criticized or judged, and feeling overwhelmed. The gist is, you can better understand and reconcile by taking a step back and reflecting on what's below the surface and like all those reasons behind the conflict, while also taking responsibility for your own role. To validate someone else's experience though, you gotta practice self-validating, which brings us to number 2, focus on your own healing and growth. This is a topic that comes up so often in my private coaching sessions. When you work on yourself first, your relationship dynamics have to change. In other words, grow into the most authentic version of yourself who can only have healthier and healthier relationships. Focusing on your own personal growth might be the last thing that you want to do when you're feeling the pain, the immense pain from an estranged relationship with your child. but I've seen it time and time again. Self-care and your own healing will fix things in your relationship. And as cheesy as it sounds, when you do things like overcome challenges, adopt a growth mindset, and seek out the crazy lessons that come with every hardship, you become a better version of you. And that's who your kids want to have a relationship. That's who they want to show up. So double down on important self-care and wellness practices. Practices like mindfulness daily, staying social and connected to supportive people, exercising regularly, keeping to a solid retirement structure and routine, and getting help if you need it, whether it's coaching or counseling. Professional help and guidance will help you get to a place of repair more quickly. Either way, the work that you do on yourself first will carry you through the next tips more smoothly, because you'll have a stronger sense of self and awareness and be grounded in that. Number 3, be open to apologies and forgiveness. Apologizing and forgiving takes so much courage, but it can go a long way in repairing a broken relationship for both you and your adult child, and mostly you. As a popular saying goes, unforgiveness is like drinking poison yourself and then waiting for the other person to die. So forgiveness will give you a lot of relief. A recent forgiveness study revealed that forgiveness intervention programs reduce depression and anxiety symptoms. And in case you're interested, the study used a forgiveness intervention tool called the REACH workbook, which walks you through these steps. Recall the hurt, empathize with the other person, altruistic gift by forgiving unselfishly, commit it to paper for accountability, and hold on to your forgiveness. Regardless of how you go about it, letting go of the resentment and anger will better prepare you for the big step of reaching out. Number 4, try to initiate contact. According to Joshua Coleman, a co-chair of the Council of Contemporary Families and the author of The Rules of Estrangement, the best way to reach out is through a written letter. It allows you to express your feelings and your thoughts more clearly without feeling overwhelmed. And then it also gives your children the time and space to process their emotions and then reply at their own pace. Email can function in the same way, but before reaching out, proactively think about your child's boundaries and then consider the important steps that we mentioned before this, where you focus on reflecting, repairing, understanding, and also healing solo first. The inner work that you do on you is bound to shift the dynamic so that you don't simply fall back into the old, unhealthy, heated dynamic. Even if you're eager to rebuild your relationship, at a minimum, take the time to consider what your child might be ready for and what their limits might be. Of course, there may be exceptions for extreme cases, like if the relationship involves abuse, manipulation, or other more severe traumatic experiences. And if that's the case, it's best to seek professional help before you initiate any contact. And then when your child is ready to have contact with you, it's so important to focus on being healed and open enough to validate their experience, which brings us to our last tip. Number 5, actively listen with empathy. Listening with empathy is one of the most important skills in any relationship, and especially in those that involve estrangement. While listening seems so simple, people are generally poor listeners. 96% claim to be good listeners, yet only half of what is said is retained. The other half of listening is the emotional part where you empathize, which means understanding where your child is coming from, even if you disagree with them. So it means being able to put yourself in their shoes and their feelings and feeling the world from their experience. And the single most important ingredient for empathy is vulnerability, which is super uncomfortable to do. As Brené Brown put it, empathy is a vulnerable choice because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something within myself that knows that feeling. But remember, one of the primary reasons most children cite for estrangement is feeling unsupported and unaccepted. So being vulnerable enough to listen with empathy is gonna go a long way in repairing trust and rebuilding that love between you. Number 6, focus on the present and the future. The past can't be changed, but focusing on the present and then being healthy and moving into a future with a better version of you can work wonders in repairing and strengthening your relationship over time. So once you've established contact, share your intentions. Come from a place of wholeness and love, and then talk about potential plans for reconnecting and rebuilding trust. It could be a simple phone call or a video chat once a month or an in-person visit. Whatever it is, boundaries and expectations are going to be huge. The goal is to have both of you agree on what you're comfortable with And then keeping in mind that connecting with your estranged child is a process. The average length of estrangement is 5 years, so you need to be patient and take it one micro step at a time. Parental estrangement is a challenging and painful experience, and there's hope. To recap our 6 tips for reconnecting with your estranged adult child: number 1, reflect on the reasons behind the estrangement. Number 2, focus on your own healing and growth. Number 3, be open to apologies and forgiveness. Number 4, then when you're prepped and ready, try to initiate contact. Number 5, actively listen with empathy. And number 6, focus on the present and better future. With dedication and understanding, you can start the journey from estranged to reunited. The main takeaway is to work on bettering yourself first, be patient, and to not force anything. If you're struggling and you want extra help, just reach out and consider life coaching sessions or counseling sessions. Either way, thank you so much for being here and for striving to be your best during retirement. We need more people like you to help shift our culture to be better. Please like, share, and subscribe and comment on this video. Every engagement that you make with our videos helps us do our job better of creating helpful content for this very important audience of older adults. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.